planet teaches us over and over again that sea level goes up and it goes down, and not by inches, but by feet, if not tens of feet. We have been in a time period over the last 10,000 years when sea level has been pretty constant, and that has helped us to populate coastlines. But we should not believe that the relatively level sea level we've had for 10,000 years is the norm. Indeed, it is not. Right now, we're in a situation where the planet is warming up. The levels of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere are rising, and they're rising rapidly. The difference is that we're doing this. We're adding these greenhouse gases to the atmosphere. It is our responsibility, because we're the ones who are changing the climate that's causing the sea level to rise. This is not a natural process, as best we can tell. This is us. As a globe, we've done really nothing about this problem.
The community here has always been very tight-knit, and everybody pitches in. That's the main thing that has drawn me to this place is the people and their culture and how they're so tight-knit. And they help each other in some of these hurricanes. My name's Michael Helminski, and I live on Hatteras Island. I've been a resident here for about 40 years. I came here in the early 70s, loved the place, thinking it was a temporary stop for me at the time, but it's turned into a long-term commitment. This is a beautiful area out here to me. And I built my house and, bought the property and everything. In 2004, I started a little oyster garden back here. The hurricanes go by, and I'm always ready to get my camera out and record the clouds and the skies.
In 1973, photographer Michael Helminski built a home 4 feet above sea level on the Outer Banks of North Carolina.
And that was a 10-foot storm surge from the Pamlico Sound.
He lives on Hatteras Island, a wild, flat sliver of land, part of a 200-mile chain of barrier islands.
The bad storms seem to be more frequent in the last several years, and I don't know, I hear about sea level rise. I think I see it.
Hatteras has historically been pounded by storms and hurricanes that blow up the Atlantic seaboard and onto, over and through the Pamlico Sound. But speak to people out here and something about the place and the storms has changed.
The road has been moved since I've lived here several times. The houses in Merlot, I'm surprised they've lasted as long as they have, because the ocean's been washing around them with quite a bit of energy for probably 15 years now or more. We've seen a number of them start to fall into the ocean.
Sea level rise is an interesting challenge because it's slow, but it's like a freight train. Once it gets going, even though it's going slowly, you just can't put your hand out and stop it. This is something that has momentum that's going to keep going.
For decades, Professor James White has been tracking ice melt in Greenland and the dramatic impact it has on sea level.
Sea level's rising, it will continue to rise. The pace of the rise will pick up. Whether it rises by 3 feet by the end of the century, or by 2.5 feet, or by 5 feet, it is clear that the path we're on right now in terms of building homes right up to the coast, building cities right at sea level, this is not a sustainable thing to do.
But despite clear evidence that development and sea level rise are incompatible, responses to the issue remain surprisingly localized. What is sustainable in one part of the country is sometimes off limits in another. The worldwide scientific community accepts the scientific certainty of sea level rise. But when the North Carolina Coastal Resources Commission announced a proposed 39-inch accelerated sea level rise regulation, it found itself inundated with complaints.
I never expected this to be as controversial as it's been. When we asked the science panel to give us that report that estimated future levels of sea level rise, We knew that what we wanted to do was just get information to start thinking about planning for this. We scared some people, and when we did that, we brought a significant amount of criticism on ourselves.
You can't just throw 39 inches on 20 coastal counties, north and south and inland. It doesn't make any sense.
As soon as the Coastal Commission report was released, homeowners organized in 20 North Carolina counties and passed a bill outlawing any reliance on the report data. Critics said North Carolina was banning sea level rise.
This next go-around, we will ask the question in a different way, and I believe that we'll get a report that'll make it easier to have this discussion with people.
North Carolina homeowners and communities are on the leading edge of the climate change conversation. People who have a financial stake in the outcome are raising their voices the loudest.
Our problem with that is that, anecdotally, the evidence is not there for that. The people who have studied sea level tell you that you must study at least a 60-year cycle in order to get a feel for the trend in sea level rise.
But to scientists, this kind of skepticism, some call it denial, is its own form of heresy. Years of scientific record reveal conclusive warming trends, they say, with only one unmistakable conclusion: the seas are definitively rising.
I'm talking about simple physics here. We're not talking about complicated models. We're not talking about something where we have to attach high or low degrees of probability. There's a very, very good relationship on our planet between temperature and sea level. When it's warmer, it's higher. When it's colder, it's lower.
Reconciling such hugely divergent views seems impossible. Science is certain, financial stakeholders are adamant, and people's intangible feelings about culture and way of life play a huge role in the ongoing conversation about adaptation as well.
This is where I live. I've lived here my whole life, and we have a culture, in eastern North Carolina. I'm not here by myself. There are nearly 100,000 people in Craven County. There are 60,000 people in Carteret County and 10 or 11,000 people in Pamlico County who have their life invested in this place. This is where we live. And it gets to a point where you're so regulated without any evidence that it's benefiting us or society in general that you can no longer enjoy the life that you've had.
But further up the coast in Virginia, the old way of life is disappearing under rising tides. Part 2 of our series examines how resistance to sea level rise adaptation there has become unqualified acceptance, even in the most conservative circles.